Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for your incredible support of this series. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to stay updated. For those who missed it, you can find the link in the description below. Now, let's delve into the next chapter of our story. Naylan arrived, calling out to Yifan, praising his remarkable strength for advancing to the last realm of blood transfusion in just half a month. Yifan thanked Naylan for her support over the past days and shared his imminent plans with her. He cautioned Naylan that if he didn't return by the next day, she should escort Yueo, Mui, and the others to safety away from the city. Naylan deferred discussion on this, presenting Yifan with a box as a gift. Curious, Yifan opened it, prompting Naylan to explain its contents. A wild talisman to boost maximum strength and a protection talisman against high-intensity attacks, each effective for half an incense stick's duration, ideal for battle. Additionally, Naylan presented Yifan with Shark's Cut, one of the Yin dynasty's top 10 swords, known for its protective properties. She had arranged its transfer from another branch of the pavilion for Yifan's use. Grateful for her efforts, Yifan insisted on compensating her fairly for the sword, but Naylan respectfully declined. She expressed deep respect for Yifan's dedication to seeking revenge for the Mu family, emphasizing that she, Naylan Rual, was personally invested in supporting him. She bowed, pledging to await his triumphant return. Yifan thanked her once more for her kindness, promising never to forget it. In a swift and intense sequence, Yifan arrived at the Lin family mansion where guards challenged his presence. Disregarding their queries, Yifan effortlessly dispatched them, proclaiming his intent to eradicate those who stood in his way. Inside, Yunka informed his father, Lin Dafu, of his upcoming marriage to Lon, confident that it would secure the Lin family's dominance over Liyun City. Impressed, Lin Dafu praised Yunka's accomplishments just as a guard was hurled through the door. Yunka, rising with authority, demanded to know who dared disrupt their mansion. Yifan calmly announced his presence and Yunka, feigning amusement, declared his long-awaited opportunity to capture Yifan for punishment by Lon. Without hesitation, Yunka attempted a swift attack but found himself immobilized by Yifan's grip. Yifan nonchalantly questioned Yunka's ability to capture him alone, swiftly breaking Yunka's arm with a single strike. Yunka, writhing in pain, incredulously remarked on Yifan's speed in reaching the blood transfusion stage. Yifan, undeterred, warned he would break Yunka's legs next. With a powerful kick, Yifan twisted Yunka's leg, sending him crashing in agony to the ground. Lin Dafu, stunned by the sudden turn of events, witnessed Yunka's desperate plea to flee to the city lord. But before he could move, Yifan intercepted him, seizing Lin Dafu by the neck and asserting that escape was no longer an option. In a tense confrontation, Lin Dafu pleaded with Yifan, urging him not to kill them all. He explained that their actions against the Mu family were carried out under orders from the city lord. Killing them would incur the city lord's wrath, especially since Yunka and Lon were considered siblings by law due to their engagement. Yunka echoed his father's plea, warning Yifan that harming them would provoke the city lord into seeking revenge. However, Yifan remained resolute, swiftly breaking Lin Dafu's neck and discarding his lifeless body, shocking Yunka. Unmoved by Yunka's offers of the Lin family's wealth and properties, Yifan mocked the idea, questioning the true value of the Lin family's riches compared to the worth of a single medicinal herb he could easily obtain. He taunted Yunka, making it clear he had no interest in the Lin family's assets. As Yunka pleaded for forgiveness, admitting his errors, Yifan coldly stated there was no need to apologize to him. Instead, he instructed Yunka to accompany his father and atone for the deaths of the Mu family villagers. With a swift twist, Yifan ended Yunka's life, declaring his next destination, the city lord's mansion. Meanwhile, at the city lord's mansion, a messenger rushed in, reporting a grave and unexpected development. A message arrived at the city lord's mansion, reporting that the Lin family mansion was under attack by a man named Yifan seeking revenge, who had already caused numerous casualties. Upon hearing Yifan's name, the city lord immediately ordered all exits of Liyun City to be sealed off. He commanded Generals Pong and Yulei to gather 300 armed guards and accompany him to the Lin family mansion. As the city lord prepared to depart, he pondered how Yifan could still be alive. Mounting his horse, he instructed his companions, Yuan and Bing, to remain at the mansion and protect his daughter, Lon. They were to report any trouble immediately. Yuan and Bing acknowledged the orders and assured the city lord they would fulfill their duties. Accompanied by his guards, the city lord set off towards the Lin family mansion. Meanwhile, Lon returned and inquired of Bing and Yuan about the commotion with her father and the troops. Bing explained they were heading to apprehend a criminal, clarifying that they were staying behind to safeguard her as per her father's orders. Lon disembarked from her carriage, instructing the guards to remain outside but be ready to intervene if necessary. She commented on her father's excessive worry, noting the presence of 4 generals in the city, all in the blood transfusion realm, alongside her father, who was in the marrow cleansing realm. Lon, filled with apprehension over the audacity of the attacker targeting her mansion, likened them to a fearless bear or leopard. Amidst this tension, one of her maidservants inquired about which dress Lon wished to wear that day. Lon noticed a dress identical to one Ruoruo had worn previously and demanded to know why it was still there. The maidservant explained it was considered valuable, but Lon scorned its presence, feeling it inappropriate since Ruoruo, in her view, was unworthy of such attire. She expressed disgust towards the Mu family and declared her intent to personally kill Yifan upon their next encounter. Suddenly, Lan's maidservants collapsed to the ground. Startled, she turned around to find Yifan standing behind her, questioning how she planned to kill him. Terrified, Lon demanded to know why he was there and how he dared to enter the Lord's mansion. Yifan retorted defiantly, disregarding the mansion's status and revealing that he had already dealt with the 100 guards and 2 generals in the blood transfusion realm with his own hands. Lon, overwhelmed with fear and realizing the dire situation, screamed for the guards, only for Yifan to calmly inform her that there was no one left to call. Lon panicked as she realized Yifan had effortlessly dealt with the guards and generals without a peep. Yifan drew his sword and asked Lon if she remembered his warnings not to cross him. Placing the sword at her neck, Yifan questioned whether she and Yunka had plotted the Mu family massacre. He revealed Yunka's fate and declared it was now her turn. Trembling, Lon fell to her knees, pleading she was just 18 and too young to die. She promised to do anything Yifan asked if he spared her life. Yifan's anger flared, especially for the innocent like 13-year-old Ruoruo and the village children Lan's actions had harmed. Lon tried to reason, offering herself and claiming her virginity should spare her. But Yifan dismissed her plea, cutting her arm and stating she disgusted him, clothed or not. Sheathing his sword, Yifan declared justice would be served. Lon would now scrub his shoes until they sparkled, a fitting task given her past arrogance about Ruoruo. She tried to protest, but the protagonist asked if she hadn't said she would do whatever he asked. She agreed. Then she said she would lick, and as long as Yifan didn't kill her, she would do anything. She started licking, and the protagonist said she was working hard to stay alive. She thought she would do anything for a while and delay as much as possible until her father returned, certain that Yifan would face a horrible death. She quickly made the shoe shine. The protagonist looked at her and said now that she had cleaned it, she could go. Then he slashed her throat. She fell to the ground, questioning the protagonist. Outside the Lin mansion, the Lord and the guards were arriving. The Lord sensed something. One of his guards asked if something was wrong. He replied that it was nothing, just a vague bad feeling that came over his heart. Another guard arrived, saying something was wrong. He explained that, as ordered, he had gone ahead to check the place. When he entered the mansion, he found only the guards' bodies, but did not find Dafu or Yunka. The Lord understood what was happening. He shouted to everyone that it was a trap to lure them out of the mansion, and now they must return as quickly as possible. As he ran, the Lord thought that if Yifan touched Lon, he would kill all 9 generations of the Mu family. When he reached the front of his mansion, he saw 3 bodies tied to the gate. Lon, Dafu, and Yunka lay before Yifan, awaiting the return of the enraged city lord. When the lord arrived, he immediately launched an attack at Yifan. Drawing his sword, Yifan retorted that the outcome of their clash was yet to be determined. He unleashed his sword rain technique, but the lord evaded swiftly, recognizing it as the powerful sword rain skill fueled by sword energy. The Lord, preparing to counter, recalled the formidable nature of Sword Rain, a high-level, yellow-ranked sword technique that took him a year to begin mastering. He noted Yifan's disappearance for 2 months and subsequent advancement to the internal force realm, achieving remarkable success. Acknowledging Yifan's capability to eliminate many experts from his mansion, the Lord countered with his own skill, the Chi technique and blood veil, scoffing at Yifan's audacity to challenge someone in the marrow cleansing realm while he was merely in the blood transfusion realm. Unfazed, Yifan unleashed another skill, Tempest, filling the sky with water blades that shocked the Lord. As the water blades closed in, one aimed for the Lord's head, only to be blocked by his 9 clouds ring shield. Assessing the situation, Yifan realized the shield was impenetrable just as an intensely powerful lightning bolt surged from the Lord's hand. In the midst of their intense battle, Yifan quickly recognized the Lord's magical weapon as he launched a lightning bolt with incredible speed. Employing the floating flower steps technique, Yifan effortlessly dodged the attack. However, the Lord wasted no time and struck again, this time hitting Yifan squarely. Amidst his laughter, the Lord taunted Yifan to try running if he wished to escape. But as the dust settled, Yifan stood in the center, completely unscathed, much to the Lord's confusion. Yifan calmly remarked that he had worried needlessly, as the Lord's lightning and thunder abilities weren't as potent as feared. Realizing the talisman given to him by Na Lin was absorbing the lightning and thunder, Yifan understood its effectiveness. He then activated the brutal buffalo talisman, enhancing both his magical and physical capabilities beyond their previous limits, much to the Lord's growing desperation. Undeterred, Yifan unleashed the violent sword rain technique's third form, the waterfall of swords. A powerful wave surged from his sword, but the Lord persisted and launched another lightning attack. The collisions between their attacks created a powerful tornado that threw the Lord backward, intensifying the confrontation. The protagonist grimaced as blood trickled from his lips, catching the Lord's attention, who chuckled, mocking Yfan's inability to match his strength even with the talisman. However, Yifan retorted, questioning why the Lord assumed he intended to rely solely on strength to defeat him. The Lord grew uneasy, sensing Yifan still held an undisclosed advantage. Suddenly, Yifan swiftly closed the distance, surprising the Lord, and revealed it wasn't about holding an ace up his sleeve, it was about executing a final move. A small water blade from the violent sword rain technique pierced the Lord's chest, inflicting severe damage known as the sword drop. Shocked and disbelieving, the Lord realized he was defeated by the protagonist. Gasping in disbelief, the Lord couldn't fathom his loss. Meanwhile, Yifan prepared to deliver the final blow, declaring that the heavens demanded retribution for the injustices committed, sealing the Lord's fate with a decisive strike. As the Lord fell, Yifan noticed the magical ring on the ground, reflecting on its incredible power to harness lightning. Picking up the ring, Yifan marveled at how such immense power could be contained within its small form. Moments later, several horses arrived carrying the Lord's guards, who were shocked to find their Lord, his daughter, and their clan members dead. Standing before them, Yifan raised his voice for all to hear. Those who surrender will not be killed, but those who disobey will be killed without mercy. These words struck fear into the hearts of the guards who witnessed the aftermath of the battle. Meanwhile, at the pavilion, Na Lin expressed her concern to the old man about Yfan's well-being since he had left. Suddenly, a guard rushed in, urging Na Lin to follow him immediately because something significant had occurred. Curious and anxious, Na Lin asked what had happened. The guard relayed the shocking news. Dafu, Yunka, and the entire Lin family had been slain. Furthermore, the city lord, Lon, and all 4 generals had also met their end. Adding to the devastation, the Lord's mansion had been completely destroyed in a fire the previous night. Overwhelmed with relief and disbelief, Na Lin fainted, grateful that Yifan had indeed succeeded in his mission. The old man pondered the implications of these events. He remarked that the 4 great generals, all in the blood transfusion realm, were formidable opponents capable of challenging someone in the intermediate stage of the marrow-cleansing realm. Yifan, who had only recently advanced to the internal force realm, had achieved a remarkable feat. He speculated that Luoyun City's future would undergo significant changes. Days later, a commotion erupted near the wanted posters as people discussed Yfan's newfound status as a criminal. Rumors spread that capturing him would reward 100 gold coins, while providing information about him would yield 50 coins. Despite the bounty, some observed that Yfan's demeanor didn't match that of a typical criminal involved in nefarious deeds. Suddenly, someone grabbed the wanted poster featuring the protagonist himself. Yifan couldn't help but notice how poorly his face was depicted, but he shrugged it off and moved on, seeking new adventures elsewhere. As night fell at the pavilion, Na Lin pondered Yfan's current whereabouts and his future plans. Unexpectedly, a letter flew through the window, accompanied by a small box. Na Lin picked up the letter and read it attentively. It was a farewell letter from Yifan, expressing gratitude for her care and friendship during their time together. He explained that he would soon depart from Luoyun City. The brocade box contained divine treasures, a generous gift for Na Lin and the Mu family, ensuring their well-being for a lifetime. Touched by the gesture, Na Lin opened the box to find exquisite treasures she had never imagined seeing. She silently hoped for a reunion with Yifan someday. Meanwhile, Yifan rode away with his horse. Half a month later, at a boat port on the border between the Wei and Yin nations, Yifan overheard someone mentioning that the sacred land of the 5 elements, one of the 10 great sacred lands, had recently opened slots for recruiting disciples. Even the lowest technique in the sacred land, once it goes to the secular world, becomes a supreme technique that anyone would fight to obtain. Another person said that if someone became a disciple there, it would be considered a divine blessing. The man in blue said that if someone could become an elder of the sacred land, even the princess, nobles, and the emperor himself would have to show respect. The man in red said that the sacred land was 10,000 miles away, and if they missed the ship, they would never get there, not even using 20 horses to death. The man in blue urged them to hurry to get the best seats. Yifan looked up and saw several ships flying in the sky. Cloud ships were the most important method of transportation on the ancestral continent. They were extremely fast for crossing the Celestial Rift Valley and reaching their destination. The protagonist didn't waste any time and got in line. When it was his turn, he asked for a ticket to the land of the 5 elements. The ticket seller said the ship only went to the 5-element city of the Wei Kingdom, and that it cost 500 gold coins per ticket. The ticket seller wondered where a country bumpkin like Yifan came from, not knowing how far the ship could go. Besides, accommodations on the ship were very expensive, with even the basic room costing 300 gold per night. He told the protagonist that if Yifan couldn't pay for it, he would have to sleep on the deck, without any magic protection from the wind and sun. The protagonist wasted no time and requested the most luxurious room available. The ticket seller, delighted, assured him of preparing the finest accommodations. Just then, 2 individuals approached and insisted the ticket seller hold off, offering to pay double for the same room. The young woman introduced herself as Meng, the princess of Lingyang, and the man is Tang, son of Prince Kong. Yifan, feeling indignant, confronted Tang, questioning his audacity. Tang retorted that in their world, those who could afford it paid a premium, regardless of who came first. However, Yifan asserted his precedence, backed by the ticket seller's confirmation that he had secured the reservation first. Meng interjected, questioning Yifan's standing to oppose the prince of the Kong family. She enumerated her titles and emphasized her authority as Wang Meng, appointed by King Yin as the princess of Lingyang. Her brother, Wang Tang, was the eldest son of Prince Kong. She insinuated generosity in merely engaging with Yifan, accusing him of daring to covet what she desired. Meng challenged Yifan, asking if he sought his demise. The protagonist, taken aback, lamented encountering pretentious individuals wherever he went, flaunting their titles and expecting deference. Onlookers in the line advised Yifan to yield, cautioning against provoking trouble with the royal family. Losing patience, Yifan retorted loudly that being royalty did not inherently confer greater entitlement than anyone else present. Meng and Tang were taken aback by the protagonist's boldness, who firmly stated that he had already purchased the room and wouldn't relinquish it for any sum of money. He insisted they should obey and move to the back of the line. The tension between them escalated, prompting the ticket seller to intervene. He suggested Tang go to the end of the line and assured him of the second-best room once his turn came. The ticket seller found himself in a precarious situation, torn between the influence of royalty and the wealth of Tang. He couldn't afford to offend either party. Tang, as a last warning, asked Yifan if he understood the consequences of opposing the prince of the Kong family. In response, Yifan countered by asking if Tang understood the consequences of crossing him. Tang cautioned Yifan about making enemies while traveling abroad, hinting at the dangers that might befall him. Yifan acknowledged the risk but suggested it was equally uncertain who posed a greater threat. Feeling pressured, Tang relented, deciding not to argue further and accepting the second-best room. Meng, however, remained displeased. Tang reassured her, promising to buy her dresses when they reached the city to lift her spirits, to which she reluctantly agreed. The ticket seller, relieved to resolve the situation, assured he would prepare the rooms accordingly. However, Yifan unexpectedly declared that he wouldn't accept this arrangement. Tang demanded to know what he meant, and Yifan explained that he disliked noise from neighboring rooms when sleeping, so he intended to secure all the premium rooms. This declaration angered the prince, who confronted Yifan, asking what he was trying to achieve. Yifan simply reiterated his stance on first come, first served, and challenged Tang if he had an issue with that. Seeing the resolve in Yifan, the ticket seller handed over all the room keys to him and requested Prince Tang to return to the end of the line. The ticket seller anticipated a substantial windfall from this transaction, enough to secure his financial future. Yifan departed with all the keys, but on his way, he spontaneously gave one to a bald man nearby, simply because he appeared quiet and unassuming. Meng criticized Yifan's actions as an attempt to embarrass them, but Tang, resigned to Yifan's obstinacy, understood his motives. On board the ship, Yifan strolled down the corridor when a burly man intercepted him, requesting a moment of his time. They eventually sat down together, chatting and sharing drinks. They raised their glasses once more in a toast. The burly man expressed agreement with Yifan's earlier sentiment about princes not being inherently superior to others. Despite their conviviality, Yifan remained unaware of the man's identity. The big guy introduced himself as Lu, from a merchant family in the Wu nation. Lu asked about the protagonist as well. Yifan introduced himself and said he came from the Yin continent. The protagonist thought that the Wu continent was neighboring the Yin continent, and that since most people there were martial artists, the overall strength of that continent was considerably stronger than that of the Yin continent. Lu said it was destiny that they met there today, because he had witnessed the protagonist's act of bravery and admired his personality. Therefore, Lu wished to be friends with the protagonist. Lu said he wasn't afraid to admit that his journey was to participate in the admission exam for the Sacred Land. If those two people, Tang and Ming, dared to take revenge on the protagonist, he would be the first not to spare them. Tonight, he would stand guard so that the protagonist could sleep peacefully. Yifan thought, when did he ever say he was worried about such a thing? The big guy decided to toast once more. An hour later, the big guy was completely drunk, when suddenly a lightning bolt almost hit the ship. Even though it didn't strike directly, the ship became very unstable, and the big guy went flying. The protagonist wondered what was happening. People on the ship were being thrown around by the force of the wind. A lightning storm was approaching. Another lightning bolt struck the ship, and everyone nearby screamed for help. Yifan saw the lightning and thought it was a good way to gather energy. He took out the thundercloud ring and said it was time for it to shine. He remembered that while on the way there, he had examined the ring thoroughly, and the magical weapon could store lightning during storms and release it when necessary. Unfortunately, he hadn't encountered any storms in recent weeks. Yifan said that now a storm had arrived just in time. A lightning bolt struck and went directly to the ring, exactly what the protagonist wanted. Then several lightning bolts struck, all heading towards the protagonist. People noticed that all the lightning bolts were going in the same direction towards the cabins, but clearly aiming at the protagonist's cabin. One of the workers saw this and wondered if the protagonist's cabin, which was of divine grade, didn't have a protection formation. As the lightning was heading there, while everything outside was flying around, the protagonist was calmly absorbing the lightning until the ring absorbed everything and the lightning stopped. Now with this, the protagonist had another ace up his sleeve. After some time, one of the crew members spotted the city of 5 elements. The big guy Lu thanked heaven for finally getting off that ship, and the protagonist asked if this was the city where the entrance exam for the Sacred Land would take place. Lu, with a swollen forehead from the impact, said he had heard that King Wei had spent a tremendous amount of money to build this city to appease the 5 elements sect of the Sacred Land, and this city was much more luxurious than the king's city. The protagonist thought it was much better to see for himself than to hear it from someone else. So, he headed into the heart of the city. Now, in the middle of the city, a lot of people surrounded him. He thought there were many more people than he had imagined. Lu explained to him that this was the admission exam for the Sacred Land, and that thousands of martial artists from all over the world came here to take the exam. So naturally, there would be many people here. Lu asked Yifan to look at the sky, and there were people flying on swords and gourds. The big guy said that they were cultivators from the mystic spiritual cultivation realm. He mentioned that this was the 5th time he had seen a cultivator from the mystic spirit realm with his own eyes. Yifan thought that the spirit cultivation realm was different from the external release of chi and blood. They could generate spiritual energy with their own bodies, so they could fly in the sky and escape the earth, travel around on swords, and do whatever they wanted, and this was truly the Sacred Land. And the protagonist had indeed come to the right place. Suddenly a person shouted for everyone to be silent. An immense pressure came from the sky, and everyone started to feel unwell. The protagonist, not wanting to draw attention, pretended to feel unwell too, until a giant person appeared in the sky. And with that, we conclude this chapter. I hope you enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button. Let's aim for 200 likes on this video. Drop a comment below saying Part 3 if you're excited for the next installment. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care.